Hi there, peace be upon you and welcome. I want us to stop hiding. As a Black community, this is an honest conversation that we need to have. There's this absurd mentality. It's from the collectivist ideal, but it has now become toxic. There's this culture of putting everyone before you while you betray yourself. Expected to deny the truth out of so-called respect, which is a lie, and this needs to stop. Honestly, it's manipulation and control. It's self-betrayal masquerading as respect. Our community has grossly twisted the principle of Ubuntu, and I am not against Ubuntu, actually all for it. But in our culture, we're taught to keep silent. We're applauded and we're celebrated for betraying ourselves, for betraying the truth. We're taught to keep quiet, hide your pain, or keep silent, don't feel what you feel, because speaking honestly as a child, especially before adults, is rude. So you silence your pain, you silence your emotions, you hide your hurt, and you carry on, and you're applauded for this. We're raised up to be slaves, we're trained up in a slave mentality, and they praise you for it. We're slaves to authority, we're slaves to money, reputation, power. You'll hear things like "Phela yenu nemali," and those kind of phrases just really get to me, because essentially they train you. Certain people can get away with anything, or certain people are allowed to live a better life or receive justice and receive better simply because they have more money than you do, which is perverse. It's so perverse. So from a young age, you're taught to apologize for existing or for having an honest and valid need. Your physical and emotional needs. Or more accurately, your mental, psychological, and emotional needs are trampled on. They trample on your individuality. You're not allowed to make decisions. They don't ask for your opinion. You're told to keep quiet, to sit down and be grateful for whatever it is that you're given. You're not given the opportunity to solve problems. Problems are solved for you. Or you're told that you are a problem. There's this mentality where parents tend to ridicule or chastise their children in front of their peers, in front of their friends, in front of their family. You're overly criticized and you're put down. Everybody around you gets to make decisions for you. So the person in authority over you gets to make decisions. The person that has money gets to make decisions. The person with clerical status gets to make your decisions for you. And it doesn't matter what you think, and it especially does not matter how you feel. No matter what you say about it, you're silenced. The Black child is silenced in our community. Your voice is silenced, and you don't have an opinion if you don't earn money or you don't have employment in the Black community, which is so twisted. It's like there's this phrase that when uzokhuluma ungena mali. So they attach value and self-worth to money, status, and material possessions, which is why you see Black people going broke just to have a certain brand or drive a certain car. It's a lie. It's a falsehood. And it's especially irksome for me, because if you have a mind, if you have an opinion, if you dare to speak your mind or share your opinions, if you want to add value in a positive where you're immediately shut down if you're not an adult, or even if you are an adult but you don't have monetary value. Another one is this idea that a person who's never showed up in your life, a person who essentially doesn't know you, but just because you're related, you're expected to show up for them fully and completely at the drop of a hat if they request it. Because if you don't, then you're haughty, or you're selfish, or you think you're better. And emotions are never considered or validated in our community. They like to term every single emotion as either you being immature and selfish, or you being greedy and selfish. That's all you're told as a child. Children have emotional needs. There are 5 languages. Your child might have a love language that is physical touch, or your child might have the love language of receiving gifts. And when they see you give gifts to another person, when you've never given them gifts, or other people have words of affirmation as a love language, and you've never poured into them. You'll never praise them, but there you are at church praising everybody else, and your child has a normal reaction to that. Then they're told that, oh, no more now, so you're greedy and selfish. That's the only emotion you're ever allowed to have. Oh, if you cry, if you dare cry, you're not allowed to cry in our community, which is such a crime, because tears, when you release them, they bring healing. Confession brings, when you speak about something, confession brings healing. You're able to digest and process and move on from that. So essentially, you're never allowed to grow, develop, and mature emotionally, interpersonally. Your interpersonal skills are suppressed. What I find commonly is that you're 5, you're good enough for basic chores and subservient positions of help, but you're never old enough to make actual decisions. You're not included in the finances or the financial decisions and the running of the household. But then suddenly one day you are an adult. Miraculously, you are an adult and you're expected to make decisions, but you've never been allowed to make a decision in your life. You don't decide what you wear. We don't wear that in this family. We don't speak like that in this family. We don't think like that in this family. We don't say this in this community. We don't dress like this in this community. You've never been allowed to make decisions, and now all of a sudden you're expected to be able to act and interpret emotions, feelings, and circumstances and situations as an adult. You have to hold a job together. You have to be financially stable, but you don't have the tools to be any of that. You're supposed to stand up to your boss, and you're not allowed to be bullied, but you've been bullied your whole life. You're overworked and you're underpaid. You're supposed to be able to manage that and stand up to that. How? When you haven't been given the tools to do so. When you were told to sit down, keep quiet, and be grateful for what you get your whole life. It's perverse and insane. It's toxic and oppressive, and it needs to stop. Self-harm is celebrated in our community instead of self-actualization. If you achieve anything, you're made to apologize for it. You are expected to take care of everyone. You have to take care of your parents, your grandparents, your grandparents' grandparents, your aunts, your cousins' cousins, and if you have something, and if you dare not to, if you dare to say, I don't, or I can't, or I don't have, if you dare to speak your mind, then you're something else. You're high and haughty and prideful. But you have to take care of everyone, which is essentially enabling. So you enable the lazy person that doesn't want to try to achieve anything for themselves, and then you're made to apologize for actually achieving something yourself. And it's funny how you're expected to all of a sudden be independent out there in the world, but you weren't even allowed to breathe on your own your whole life. So it's very discouraging the way that we raise our children. We raise them to apologize for having opinions. We chastise them or embarrass them, essentially creating low self-esteem. We have these outrageous response to mistakes, to the littlest mistakes, and we're too strict. We don't allow for movement or self-opinions or self-decisions, which creates low self-esteem, which creates indecisive individuals and dependent individuals. And then when a person is dependent, that uncle that can't leave the house was enabled. They were trained up to be that person. And then we turn around and we mock them and we laugh at them when they're failing at life, but all they've ever been trained up to do is to actually not be themselves. So you become who people say you are, who your parents say you are, and not who you actually are. And I pray that one day this will change and we can move on to being healthy, integrated individuals. But it starts at a young age. It starts now, and it starts with allowing honest conversations.